Hey y'all, it's Kasia, and today I'm going to show y'all how I did these different size feed-in braids, how I measured out the hair and measured out the parts and everything. So we're going to get straight into it. I'm using this 85-inch expression hair. This is by the brand Biba. You can use whatever brand you prefer, but I'm just going to start off with cutting the hair in half because it is 85 inches, so that means it's extra long. And I'm going to go ahead and start pulling the ends so that the braids won't be blunt on the ends. Brushing, I'm gonna go ahead and split the pack, half of the pack in half, and that's gonna be my largest braid. Now you can give or take a little bit of hair in this section, but it's gonna be about a half. And usually it's a little bit less than half, but this is just a general, idea of how much hair to put. So I'm using this little spool holder I got from Joann's. You can find it at Joann's, Michael's, any type of store like that. So I'm parting out a section of hair. This would be equivalent to if I did 4 big braids in her hair, basically. So of course if you were doing 5, you would take a little hair away or whatever. So I'm just using some edge control to slick that hair down and do the love baby hair, whatever. And I'm just gonna be using my comb to define the part a little bit more, and then I'm gonna start off with the feed-in method. So of course y'all probably already know how to do feed-in braids, hopefully, but if you don't, I'm just gonna give like a little quick synopsis. So I'm gonna take a piece of the hair and I'm gonna put it into 3, and I'm going to begin to braid. In the first stitch, I'm gonna add a piece of hair underneath. I'm going to braid back, grabbing another piece of her hair, moving back with the stitch, and then I'm going to bring that weave underneath. Then I'm going to add another piece right underneath that, and I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing until I either 1, run out of hair for this section, or 2, get the braid to the thickness that I want, whichever comes first. So say for instance you have 10 pieces of hair back there, but the thickness of the braid is stops at 8 pieces. Then you're going to want to stop the braid there, and then for the next braid make sure you use the same amount of pieces that you used for the one before. So, but a rule of thumb is usually to make them the same length. You want to use 1 extra piece more of hair towards the end of the braid for the middle braids than you do for the braids that's on the side. I hope that makes sense. Okay, for this section, we're going to be parting out a medium-sized section, and then we're going to be using the edge control to slick it into place. Okay, for this section, you're going to be taking half of what you originally used and splitting that into half. So basically the size of this braid is half of the size of the braid before. So the second braid is half of the size of the second braid. Okay, so I want y'all to keep in mind that the braid is only going to be as thick or as thin as you want it to be. Just because I'm adding in hair under every stitch of braid doesn't mean that you have to add in hair under every stitch of braid. You can add as much or as less amount of hair that you want to get the thickness that you want, but you just basically have to play with it to see what you personally prefer or what your client personally prefers. So just kind of play with it. The key is to just always make sure that the braids are the same size and the same length. So you want to use about, give or take, the same amount of hair, and you want to add length or reduce length as needed. But just know that practice makes perfect, and that you may not get it on your first try, but if you do, that's really good. But if you don't, that's okay. Keep trying to do it. It's not, fail proof. You're gonna have to figure out what works for you, because just because it works for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. You might have a different method, or but I hope this video helps y'all out. Okay, so this is the smaller braid. For this braid, I'm gonna part out a pretty small section. Not too small, but yeah, it's pretty small. This is about the size I would do if I'm doing like lemonade braids, or like the basic size, I guess, for like double size feet in. Also, this braid is half the size of the braid before it. So each braid is half the size of the one before, give or take, just depending on, I stop it when I get to the thickness that I want. So pay attention to how thick your braid is getting as you're going, and don't add no extra hair if you feel like you don't need to, basically. Okay, so that's it for the tutorial. Let me know if y'all have any questions in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them, and leave any requests down there as well. Thanks for watching. I hope y'all enjoy. Bye.